Hello and you're very welcome to the Shitty Chairman Podcast. I'm John Van. Of course, the podcast brought to you by YourGreat.com. Using the code Chairman Podcast to get 15% off on the website. Coming up to the All Ireland finals in 2 weeks' time. So get your Kerry, Dublin, any jersey on YourGreat.com and use the promo code to get 15% off on the website and site. I'm joined by Gaelic Fan TV host and creator and Prendergast, I made sure to get that right, and Mr. Matthew Hurley, Mr. GA Statsman, I originally called him, but I'm just so used to calling you that, Matthew, and hopefully you can get that name back in the not so distant future. Mr. Hurley, how are you?
Yeah, all good, John. Despite the fact that Kerry won yesterday and that sponsor overretro.com, I'm actually thinking of using that promo code now and getting a Dublin jersey. So I'm getting to that stage now. I'm getting to the stage of a car fan getting a Dublin jersey and stuff like that. But look, it's all serious. Kerry deserved to win yesterday. They put a better team against Derry, and Dublin had a good win too against Monaghan, and Meath had a good win. So very good weekend football in general. And one thing I will say before we get into the action, up the Dubs.
Very good. Mr. Prendergast, I said a few weeks ago, it's good to see that smile on that face again. It's happening again. You're in the All-Ireland final, my man.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great to see. Obviously, a good win. Game probably went more or less the way I would have expected. It was probably maybe a little bit closer going into the final couple of minutes. But all in all, like, look, we're in the All-Ireland final. That's the most important thing. And yeah, I suppose, after the fact the championship was such a long championship, like with the group stages and everything else, and yeah, here we are, Dublin and Kerry, the same old two teams, and I think it's going to be the 16th time that both of these two will have played each other in an All-Ireland final. So, two sides with so much history, so much tradition. You think of the games down the years, it's 2 weeks away, but the excitement is definitely building already, and you're thinking about it and everything else, and the race to get tickets is very much already begun. So we'll see how that goes now over the next while. Whether we even get a ticket, I don't know. I might have to be sitting on the couch watching it or something. But hopefully we'll get a ticket. Who knows? But yeah, no. Look, it was two very intriguing games. Probably a lot closer than maybe what people expected. Kerry and Derry definitely went down to the wire as well. I think everyone was very much surprised by how Derry approached yesterday, like just going for Kerry, playing on the front foot, very much threw the shackles off, and it very much wasn't the same Derry that we've seen for the majority of the year, with the fact that they've obviously been a lot more possession based and a lot more focused on stopping the opposition rather than playing to their own strengths. But two very good games. Meath obviously winning the Tailteann Cup as well. So yeah, no, three very intriguing games. They all went down to the wire, and yeah, I suppose as Matthew says there, up the Dubs. And I suppose if any of you lads want any Dublin jerseys, I'll send them out to you.
Aaron is selling the Dublin jerseys. Get on it, make no doubt about it. Yeah, absolutely. We'll crack into the action now in due course, gents. As usual, bit of housekeeping to take care of before we crack into the action. The GA Dolly football team of the week for this week is in between the six goalie Shane Ryan, a full back line of Conor McCluskey, Darren Hughes, and Graham O'Sullivan, a half back line of James McCarthy, Garrett McInnes, and Gavin White, and then a midfield of Brian Fenton and Brendan Rodgers. And then a half forward line of Conor Callan, Sean O'Shea, and Cormac Costello. And then a full forward line of Holy Moly, Shane McGuigan, David Clifford, and Conor McManus. And then, of course, the Tailteann Cup team of the week for this week was Sean Brennan in between the sticks, a full back line of Adam O'Neill, Pierce Zafferty, and Anthony Doherty, a half back line of Donald Keoghan, Caleb Doherty, and Pork Harnan. And then a midfield of Conor Gray and Rona Jones. Half forward line of Cathal Hickey, Liam Kerr, Jack Flynn, and then a full forward line of Jack O'Connor, Matthew Costello, and Ryan Johnston. And the Footballer of the Week nominees for this week is Meath's Jack Flynn, Dublin's Cormac Costello, and, well, I suppose it's just getting a weakling at this stage, Mr. David Clifford of Kerry. Aaron Prendergast, I noticed the GA Dolly football team of the week there, half forward line of Sean O'Shea, Cormac Costello, full forward line of Shane McGuigan, Dave Clifford, and Conor McManus. That has given me nightmares.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're nearly like reading an all-star team there, like with the players on the show.
That could well be the all-star team for this year.
Like, it could be, yeah. It could be. Like it definitely won't be a million miles off. Like maybe a few other players maybe to come in, but yeah, no, like you can't really. I think, to be fair, I think it's fairly spot on with McManus, Clifford, McGuigan. All at outstanding games. Costello obviously very good as well, like 7 points for Dublin. Conor O'Callaghan I thought was like he came alive in the second half. He was probably quiet in the first half, but again, like he's probably playing a bit more of a different role with Dublin these days. He's not as reliant. You know, you're probably not going to get 7, 8, 9, 10 points from Con like maybe you were 3-4 years ago. He's probably more so setting up things around them. But yeah, Rogers in there. What an immense game from him. You know, like I know Clifford obviously wins man of the match and rightly so. But I think if Derry get over the line there, I think Rogers probably gets man of the match. And McKinless, Gavin White, James McCarthy, all brilliant games. You could argue Mick Fitzsimons maybe for Graham O'Sullivan. I thought Mick Fitz had a very, very good game for Dublin. And I thought maybe he that would be the only change I'd make. But look, you're picking up, straws between cheese there. Like it's brilliant players all together, and the forwards on show there. Like that's an all-star team if we've ever seen one, really.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Hurley. What about yourself? Obviously, a few questions raised in the group chat earlier on. I think Mr. Finian Hanley, former Galway footballer, was saying maybe why is the Tailteann Cup team not linked in with the GA Duddy team of the week? I suppose it's a very valid point, Mr. Hurley.
It kind of is, but as Aaron rightly said there, this team is probably as close as you can get to an All-Ireland semi-final. And to be honest, like if the Tailteann Cup team was included, would the likes of Darren Hughes have gone in? Would the likes of Conor? So there's that point of view as well. We went excellent performances on Saturday. Would have Conor McCluskey or Gareth McKinless gone into the team as well? And mostly B players would make it onto the team, and would the down players get the recognition they deserve? So I do see why the GA are actually separating both sides. So yeah, but Finian at the same time he makes a very good point that the Tailteann Cup deserves its own respect and deserves to be integrated in that team as well. But I'd agree with Aaron. Yes, Sean O'Shea had a very good game. Cormac Costello, and the stat about Cormac Costello, actually 12 shots in his last 2 games, 100% shot accuracy. Cormac at the right time this season. And this is going to watch now later on down the season. And when you look at Dublin's forwards, actually, I know we'll get onto in a minute, but Con and Cormac Costello obviously made it this week. Tyrone Kilkenny, if he hits form. Colin Basquez currently the top scorer from play in the whole championship so far. He didn't hit the line borders against Monaghan the other night, but he's still a very, very good footballer. And there's going to be a lot of players for Kerry to deal with. But on the other side, you look at Dublin and you have to deal with the man genius himself, David Clifford. Like some of the points he got yesterday were absolutely superb. So I think Chris McCabe was chasing shadows most of the time in the first half. Like Clifford is just utter class. You can't buy that. He has a trick in him. I don't think anybody has marked him out of a game in recent seasons once he's got a bit more experience under his belt. So he's just a magnificent footballer. He's probably one of the best footballers in the history of the game. Thinking as well, Kerry, I have to give him credit. He was superb. Even with Kerry targeting with four vicious tackles, but in fairness to him, he got up, he got strong, and he carried on in that game. And Brian Fenton in midfield and Brendan Rodgers, I think that's the exact midfield partnership I would have gone this week as well. Just was superb against Kerry. And other than Clifford, me and R discussed it in the live stream on his channel. Check that out if you haven't already. Rodgers probably was man of the match other than David Clifford. He was superb in midfield. Yeah. He's going up the field. He was very, very good. And Fenton, when push came to shove, I think Emmet Fitzmaurice mentioned in the RT commentary, when push came to shove, Fenton was there. And he delivered for Dublin, and he got them over the line in the end. So overall, I think it's a respectful team. I think it's the best team they could have put out there. But there probably is an argument there from Finian from the group chat that there could have been an integration between the Tailteann Cup and the Sam Maguire teams.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely. I suppose the flopper of the week nominees, Jack Flynn, Cormac Costello, David Clifford. Look, let's not beat around the bush. It probably is writing on the wall for Mr. David Clifford to get it. But I know just maybe for a bit of transparency, Jack Flynn maybe this week, Aaron, just because he won the game for Meath, or is it just going to Mr. Clifford once again?
Yeah, like I suppose if you're looking at it definitively, like, and you're looking at the player of the week definitively, like it probably is between Clifford and Costello, really. I think so. Like when you look at it scoring wise. I know Jack Flynn, look, he did have a very good game, and it's great to see him getting recognition. Like he scored 4 points, and he obviously played a part, obviously, in the goal as well. That Meath got, albeit it was a bit fortuitous and everything else. But I think it has to be probably between Clifford and Costello. And I think in reality, you probably are looking at Clifford. Like he scored 9 points, and he was just tearing Christy McKaig inside and out. And I think there was one moment the camera went on McCaig and he was just shaking his head. It looked like he was, he'd seen a ghost or something. Like he was like, what on earth is this? Like, and you're talking about, like, this isn't, Clifford, being picked up by, a junior B footballer or one of us. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is David Clifford being picked up by probably the best man marker in the game.
In the country. Yeah.
In the country, and Chrissy McCaig. And McCaig just didn't, he looked like he didn't know what hit him. Like, he was like, he was just shaking his head at one point. And like, to be fair to McCaig, like, he did win the oddball here and there. Like, maybe the fact that Derry were playing a different way to how they normally would play, it was leaving McCaig a lot more exposed. Like, once Clifford got that run on McCaig, he had a free shot at the goal where there was no covering defender. Whereas, like, normally, like, you see in Tyrone at times with Hampsey, and, you'd have Hampsey trying to block him down, but then you'd have McNamee just sort of, coming off the edge to try and make a block, even though that didn't work either. So, like, like, he probably is unmarkable. And as I've said to yourselves and on different shows, like, I think it's not even about marking Clifford. It's just about containing him and trying to slow him down and just try and contain him as much as possible. Like, even if he kicks 5, 6, 7 points, like, it's one of them where, even from a Dublin perspective, in a few weeks' time, I'm like, you put McFitz on him, Davy Byrne, whoever you put on him, it's probably not going to make a difference,
And I suppose the thing is, like, you might see in the past, like, a lot of players kind of maybe falter when they get inside the Croke Park and a bit of stage fright, or maybe we're not used to it. But maybe from a spectator point of view, a neutral point of view, a Kerry fan point of view, like, it's so good to see what he's doing, because he looks so relaxed. It's kind of like a coliseum for him. He doesn't wave under any of the pressure. You even seen the All-Ireland final last year against Galway. He kicked points that no other forward in the country could kick. So he doesn't even falter at the biggest stages, Matthew, where a lot of players have.
True, yeah, and he has the temperament in him yesterday, in fairness. And what I noticed actually between himself and Shane McGuigan is an outstanding player, no doubt about it. But Seamus Brady actually made a very good point as well to me. I think it was yesterday or maybe today on like a DM or whatever. He says that McGuigan, he was all mouth towards Jack O'Connor at the end. Why'd you put Jason Vody on me? Why you going hard on me and things like that. Whereas Clifford, when Chrissy McCaig was kind of giving it to him in the game yesterday, it didn't matter to him. He got on with the job. He kicked over his points. And
did Shane McGuigan say that after the game? Sorry, did he? Or my?
Apparently, he said something to Jack O'Connor at the end of the game. So he might have said.
Any idea what that was? Was that what sorry to put in, match? But was that what that anger was that why Shane was that angry after the game? Was it? I think it was.
It was.
That's what was he annoyed about? Yeah.
I think he was annoyed about Jason Foley and David Clifford and Shane Ryan giving him dirty digs maybe during the game. What Seamus actually initially, it wasn't me or Aaron that spot. In fairness, it was Seamus Brady that spotted this at fairness, that McGuigan was giving mouth to Jack O'Connor at the end of the game. We don't know what he said at the end of it, but
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Apparently he was frustrated at the end of the game, and he might have just said, why you putting Jason Vody on me? And Jack O'Connor just bemused afterwards, saying, what are you saying? It's the game, But the point is really about David Clifford. He just takes it right. Paddy Hampsey was giving him mouth to the last game. Padraig Horan did for Mayo last season, but he still gets on with it. He does his footballing and talk on the pitch. And that's something that maybe should be admired about David Clifford as a player. He's absolutely outstanding. He's in the top scorers race and the top scorer play race, and we're in the All-Ireland final now. And he could even top both at least by the end of it. He's an incredible footballer. He's probably going to get Footballer of the Year as well. He's an incredible athlete in a way. But what I will say, Cormac Costello deserves recognition as well. Like, that shot.
Yeah.
Outstanding footballer. Well, like, a lot of people were actually doubting Cormac Costello's quality. They were saying that Dean Rock's probably the main man, Conor O'Callaghan, possibly Cullen Basket in the last game against Mayo after he went to the top scorer from play. But like, Cormac Costello, especially in that first half against Monaghan, he was the guy keeping Dublin in the game. Make no mistake, he was really superb. And likewise, Jack Flynn, it's a different level that Tailteann go, but 4 points in the second half alone is superb. And country deserve nominations for Player of the Week. You'd obviously love someone different to win it, but I can't see anybody else other than Clifford. Like the way, as Aaron mentioned there about Chrissy McCaig, best man marker of the game. We were saying that before the game. But a lot of people are saying no, that Chrissy McGahan's a poor defender, and that's because Clifford turned him inside out. That's that's what David Clifford can do to you. That's what he can do to your confidence. And he's an incredible athlete, incredible skilled player. And to be honest, the game is just lucky to have him.
Yeah, we are blessed. Yeah, he does. Like I haven't got the chance, but I have it in my mind now to just watch the Derry Kerry game back just for him alone. Like he's just. Oh, lads, you're kind of running out of words. So like you could nearly dedicate a whole podcast to him, Aaron.
Yeah, you probably could. Like, and sure, maybe when it's all said and done, like he'll probably go down in the same breath as your Christy Rings, your Colin Coopers, Bernard Brogans, like probably ahead of all them realistically. If we're looking, like he's only 24 and he wins another All Ireland this year, another Footballer of the Year, like he's only really coming into it. Like they say, you come into your prime about 25, 26, like he's just coming into it now. Do you know what I mean? So there's still improvement in his game, and he's not going anywhere. Like unless he picks up a huge injury or he goes away to AFL or anything like that, like he's not gonna go anywhere. And especially with Kerry being as good as they are, I don't think he'd want to go anywhere. So I think you definitely could. You definitely could dedicate a full podcast to him, but thankfully we're not, because we need to move on to better things.
And he's only saying better things because he has them in 2 weeks' time. Avoid the negativity, Aaron. Avoid the negativity. Great stuff as usual. And Mr. Clifford, please keep entertaining us, because if we didn't have you at the minute, I don't know what we would have. Right, lads, we will move into All-Ireland Senior Football Championship semi-final time in Croke Park on Saturday. It was Dublin 117, Monaghan 13 points. Great win for the boys in blue. Probably result didn't reflect the way the game went, but Dublin will be delighted. Dean Rock coming on, getting the goal at the end. Corm Costello shooting the lights out. Dublin, great performance. Monaghan tried to kitchen sink at it, came up short. Hard luck, Monaghan.
Absolutely, yeah. No, like I think, yeah. Like from a Dublin perspective, it was first half was a little odd. We were very standoffish. We were allowing Monaghan keep the ball for large parts. We weren't really pressing them up. It was quite comfortable for Monaghan at times, which was unusual, but that's kind of how it's been for Dublin all year. Like if you look at all of Dublin's first half performances, we've been very slow in the first half a lot of the time, and it is something we'll need to work on against Kerry, because if Kerry start fast in that game, Dublin could be in a lot of trouble. But look, yeah, like in fairness to Dublin, like we kind of always look comfortable for large parts. Like Monaghan, like they were keeping in the game. McManus was obviously doing very well. McCarthy having a great game. And I suppose we were saying there, like it's kind of mad to think like Dublin's best forward probably coming into the game, our most informed forward, was Con Basquel, and he was fairly anonymous. You wouldn't have really known he was playing too much. Like he was fairly marked out of the game, wasn't really involved. But it goes to show, like someone like Cormac Costello can turn up and deliver. And first half he was absolutely exceptional. Kicked a number of big points in the second half as well. Fenton turns it on when he needs to. McCaffrey, brilliant, obviously coming off the bench. What a great, addition it was to bring him off the bench. And yeah, the scoreline probably did flatter Dublin. Like going into the final couple of minutes, it was certainly a lot closer than maybe people had anticipated. Like I always thought it would be close. Like I felt like it wouldn't be a complete rollover just because of how Dublin have played at times this year. And then Monaghan, they don't bow down. Like when is it they've got hammered this year? Like maybe at the start of the league, but since then they've been absolutely flying, and they rarely ever back down. So, but yeah, we got the job done. We got over the line. It wasn't the most brilliant spectacle game of football. Was it the most vintage game of football you'll see from a Dublin perspective? Probably not. But you could say the same about Kerry. And what's interesting is that I think Dublin and Kerry in 2 weeks' time are going into the final, probably in very similar scenarios. Like both kicked 117. Both probably could have played a lot better in the semi-finals. Both were probably ran a lot closer than what we expected, and both have had their inconsistencies this year. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And look, from a Dublin perspective, just glad to get out with a win, because at the end of the day, performances probably don't matter as much now. Like obviously it will matter in the final, but the results are the most important thing really when you get to this stage of the championship.
I suppose obviously the aforementioned Cormac Costello, we had a great game in the first half hour, and he was kicking scores to beat the man. He had a great game, and it was no one was like everywhere was just everything was going on for him. Like nothing seemed an obstacle to him. And I know obviously it was Conor Morton was saying in our group chat that maybe Conor Pasquale was relatively quiet in the first half, and probably unfair because I think Pasquale has had a cracking championship, maybe a bit of an off day on Saturday, but no doubt the final he could burst into life. So I think Pasquale he will come, but I think Costello, great game Saturday, Aaron, and I suppose from Cormac Costello's ending, it's great that he has a bit of consistency in his game now.
Yeah, and like that, and that's the problem though, that like the fences have, like if you focus too much on Pasquale, then you might leave you might leave Costello. And to be fair to Costello, like as Matthew was probably saying there, he probably is the unsung forward in the Dublin team. Like I think a lot of people look at, I suppose Pasquale, because he's been in brilliant form and he's really come into it this year. Like he's obviously a new forward sort of in the Dublin team, starting regularly. He's on everyone's lips because of how well he's performed in the last couple of games. But I think everyone knows how good Mannion is. Everyone knows how good Conor O'Callaghan is, Kieran Kilkenny as well. So Costello probably doesn't quite get the recognition he deserves because I would put him in the same breath as those players, but I think those other players have probably done it more often than Costello. Like Costello still is a young enough lad. Like he's only 26, 25, so like he's still got plenty of years ahead of him. I think he's actually 27, 28. But yeah, no, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant in the first half. Really turned it on. And yeah, like I think he's in the. If Dublin win the All-Ireland and Costello is a big performance, I think he could be in the running for Footballer of the Year.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like a Bernard Brogan-esque kind of performance from years ago. Obviously, like every time the ball went into Brogan, left foot, right foot, and it was probably, from a Dublin fan end of things, it's probably refreshing to see that kind of finishing inside, because my God, Brogan 2013, 14, 15, it was absolutely prolific, Mr. Prendergast.
It was, yeah, no, like it was, and like especially when he was getting the ball on the left hand side, like he was just causing so much havoc for the Monaghan defence. And I suppose like the Monaghan defence probably did have their hands full with Conor in there and Pasquale in there and Mannion. But yeah, it was a brilliant performance from Costello. And he's, you think back to last year as well, the All-Ireland semi-final, he gets that goal. He's becoming a big game player, and he probably wasn't for large parts Costello. Like he probably, like in the 2017, 2018, 2019. I suppose he was a young enough lad then, but he probably wasn't producing in big games, and that's probably why he wasn't always starting, or Dean Rock would be ahead of him, or he'd be coming off the bench. But you look at the last couple of years, he's really stood up, and he's definitely starting to acclaim himself now as certainly one of the best forwards in this Dublin side, and certainly in the country. And like the form he's coming in, the accuracy that he's kicking, like he's barely missing opportunities, barely missing chances. He's sharp as ever, and look, that'll be something it'll be a massive headache for Jack O'Connor, because, like he has to worry about Costello, then he has to think about Pasquale, Con, Mannion. There's a lot of firepower in that Dublin attack, and Costello, he's coming in good form.
Brian Fenton, Aaron, I think he really has his girl back. He's the bit between his seat, and you definitely seen during the Mayo game, and even after the game, he was buzzing and really, really energized. I suppose, like, are we seeing the Fenton of old?
Yeah, I think we are. Like, I think the most impressive thing about Fenton is that, like, even towards the end of the game, he seems to only shoot in moments where he's almost certain to score. Like when he gets that ball in around the middle, like you don't see. There was a stage there last season, I remember, where you start to see Fenton shooting from ridiculous angles or anything of that nature, but you don't see that anymore with him this year. And he's so calculated on the ball, and he's just such a big game player. Like, look, like, since 2015, this man has won 6 All-Irelands. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he's still only 28, 29. Like, so there's still more All-Irelands obviously in him. And he was huge. Like, he was, really turned up in the big moments. And that's, like, to be honest, that's probably the difference in some ways between Dublin and Monaghan, Kerry and Derry. Like, Kerry and Dublin have got these players who've done it in semi-finals, done it in finals, and know what it takes to step up in these moments. And it's just about keeping your composure under pressure, keeping calm, not losing the will of yourself and everything else. And to be fair to Fenton, he stood up, and yeah, it was a vintage performance from Brian Fenton, especially towards the end of the game, when when we started to press begging up the pitch. Fenton was winning so much ball from those kickouts, and I'd say he probably got 2 or 3 turnovers alone. Like, he was immense. Him and McCarthy as well deserves a lot of credit.
I suppose even like we always talk with midfield being such an important area of the field, Aaron, and obviously when Brian Fenton has seen an article, it was Malachy Clerkin wrote, like when Brian Fenton is on song and flying and going really sharp, Dublin look like a real kind of force to reckon with, because I suppose he kind of can dictate a lot of the play.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and you know, like it's probably been an area of weakness maybe for Dublin in terms of finding him a partner. I think Howard done very well the last day. McCarthy's obviously been drifting in now midfield and wing back and everything else, but yeah, like it is an area of power from Dublin. It has been for for numerous years, and you could argue Fenton maybe last year and the year previous in 2021 he wasn't at his best for whatever reason, like a lot of Dublin players really, but probably because we judge him at such a high standard that he's obviously done for being a part of that 6 in a row team and everything else. But he's got everything to his game. He can kick points, he sets up plays around them, catching high balls, dispossessing players. Like he's got the full package. He's a Rolls Royce midfielder. Like he's got absolutely everything in his locker, and yeah, he showed it in abundance on Saturday.
Last thoughts, I suppose, Aaron, on this game. Thoughts on Monaghan?
Yeah, like I thought to be fair, like I think probably where they lost the game was actually at the start of the game. I know a lot of people were probably looking at the final 10 minutes as where Dublin obviously pulled away and, like went from 13 points apiece to 117 to 13 and think kicked 1-3 or 1-4 without reply. But to be honest, the opening 10 minutes, I think, is nearly what cost Monaghan, because they hit the post on 3 or 4 occasions in a row. They hit the bar with one opportunity from Conor McCarthy, and they took a bit of time to settle into the game, and as did Dublin. But I think Dublin were probably there at the start of the game. Like, let's not forget, Noel Scully gets black carded in around, I think, the 23rd or 24th minute, and Dublin actually outscored Monaghan in that period, I think 3-2. So like Monaghan probably didn't capitalise on Dublin in the first half when we weren't flying like we were towards the end of the second half, and Monaghan probably nearly should have actually been in front at half time and had something to defend going into the second half. But at the same time, look, it's the smallest of margins, isn't it, when it comes to semi-finals and finals? Like it's you can't really fault Monaghan for the effort that they've given throughout the entirety of the year. McManus again, throwing back the years, obviously scoring 4 points, another brilliant performance from him, and it just goes down to the smallest margins. It's the same with Kerry, Derry. Derry done so much right for so much large parts, but when you're playing Dublin and Kerry, like you're talking about the two best teams in the country, there can't be much room for failure, because if there is, or room for error, because if there is, you'll get punished, and that's what we've seen in both of these two games, especially going into the final minutes.
Mr. Hurley, I suppose your thoughts on this game. Obviously, after the game, I think Thomas Niblock was kind of tweeting about Conor McManus' future, and I know obviously probably not much gas left, and same probably could be said for the Hughes brothers and a few other lads on the Monaghan team, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But overall thoughts on this game that took place on Saturday?
Yeah, a decent watch actually, and we were saying last week that this game would probably be over within a half time, and that Dublin would really put away. But in fairness to Monaghan, they stuck with Dublin. They had more shots than Dublin in the first half. They were actually dominating possession, something percent possession in the first half. That's what our team recorded, and that was incredible, really, from a Monaghan team that were inferior to Dublin for the whole year, really. And Dublin were big favourites going into it, but Monaghan took them all the way to the last 10 minutes. But what I will say, Conor McManus gets that point to level at 12 points apiece. Then Dublin tag on the next 3 points after that. And then Jack McCaffrey gets a third of those points. That puts Dublin in a big cushion, 3 points. That was the biggest cushion in the whole game up until that point. And then, Monaghan just tired. And it was unfortunate for Monaghan in the end that they just ran out of legs. Like Darren Hughes, what a warrior. He had to wear 3 shirts in this game. He had the 3 GPS tracking systems, which tells you all you need to know about his character.
I'm surprised Monaghan had the money to replace the jerseys.
We thought no Monaghan slagging on this podcast now, John.
Couldn't help it.
I had to give it one to them. What was that said? Calvin people look after the county for us, so I had to say something. I had to Stick up for those Cavan ultras.
Yeah. Give it if you can't take it, I suppose, you know.
One Aaron. Sorry, Matthew.
What was you said on Twitter after the game, John? Was it safe on?
I was hoping you weren't going to say that. I should have de-tagged you in that or made it private to Matthew and Aaron. I should have just hid that tweet or something. But yeah, I prefer this. I was just sticking up for the Breffni Blues, you know, you would, Matthew, for the Corky Neos.
Exactly, with my precious rebels. But enough about our things. I love back to the game in general.
My precious rebels. I like the sound of that. That's the rolls off the tongue. Go on, thanks, Aaron, for interrupting us as usual. Go on.
Nothing new.
After all that, and we're back to the actual game. But fairness, they're absolute warriors all over the field. Kerry Hughes in midfield, Conor McManus. And when Monaghan started those three lads, we were thinking Monaghan are just going to run out of legs at the end. But they lasted up until the 65th minute, and they were full of beans. Throat it, in fairness, and they definitely proved everyone wrong. And that photo with McManus at the end with his parents, that was just a poignant moment. Willie, on that note, it's probably the best note to leave the big stage in GA terms, to score 5 points against the Dubs. But at the same time, as a neutral now, I don't want McManus to leave. He's just an incredible footballer, an incredible person. You just don't want him, that kind of a player, to leave at that stage. But every one of the players covered themselves in glory in that game. They did absolutely outstanding. But what I will say about Dublin, when push came to shove, they delivered. And look at the stats there, 69% shot accuracy throughout the entire game, 71% in the second half alone. That's incredible. It's incredible statistics. And I have to say, when push came to shove, they did it. Jack McCaffrey coming onto the pitch, Dean Rock coming on and getting 1-1. Lucky goal at the end, but look, he was there to get the finish touch. Costello with 7 points did an excellent job. And Colin Basquel, as Aaron just said there, very quiet in the game. Monaghan kept him quiet, but still there was other lads to step up around him. And even when they got the black card, Dublin, they still won that 10-minute period by 3 points to 2. That was a crucial moment of the game. And that's probably where Monaghan, I'd argue that's another moment actually where Monaghan lost it. They were absolute dogs throughout the game. But I think in that period, Monaghan had to get above Dublin. They had to win that period of time. They didn't do that. Dublin won it. And as Aaron said to me, I think it was yesterday during the live stream for Derry and Kerry, they didn't even notice that Niall Scully was off the pitch. And that's a complete, compliment to Dublin in many ways, that they didn't even know a player was off the pitch and they still went about their business like professionals, really. And they are credit to the whole island. They're the credible side, and they're right back where they belong in the All-Ireland final. To put it in context, the last All-Ireland final they were in, they were knocked down. Seems a long time now, John. So, yeah, the Dubs are back, and they could win the All-Ireland now in 2 weeks' time. But for Monaghan, I think every one of them players, Vinnie Corey, should be proud of their efforts this season. They've had an incredible year. Will them 4 players stay? We hope they will, but unfortunately, John, I'd say that it could be a few retirements coming up in the winter months.
Yeah, I think it definitely looks like that way. Conor McManus, a real credit to you. My God, that point even. I think it, maybe from his angle, it was probably a handy point in that he was in the first half, second half, he just loaded the ball over the bar. It was just glided. It was just so magical to watch. Poetry in motion, Mr. Hurley.
Exactly, and he's one of the great players in general. We talk about the younger generation, and Clifford and Basquel and Costello, but this guy's been doing it for ages now. 35, 36 years of age, and to prove it at that stage, at that level, it's incredible, really. And not just McManus, but the 3 other lads as well, and Kieran, Darren Hughes and Carl O'Connell as well, who actually, until Seamus Brady told me, I didn't realise he was 34 years of age. I thought he was younger for some reason. Because Carl O'Connell, the wing back.
Oh God, yeah, he's 35, 36, yeah.
I didn't realise he was at that age. I thought he was actually younger, but it shocks you, and it's probably a lesson you learn something every day. But them 4 lads, they are credit to Monaghan, really. They went through the whole game. Rory Began as well was absolutely outstanding, made the right decisions. Kick-out battle up until the 65th minute, arguably Monaghan won the kick-out battle. And that's a credit to Monaghan in general. They stuck with Dublin throughout the game, and they nearly did it. But Dublin, young professionals they are, they closed the game out, and they are a great team in general for the rest of Ireland. For McManus, like I'd say, unfortunately, John, I'd say that's his last game. But I'm hoping it's not. I hope I'm wrong, because he's an excellent footballer. He's an excellent, excellent legend for Monaghan, and he's probably the biggest legend that Monaghan ever had. Like, I think me and Aaron actually discussed this a few weeks ago. Is he the best player that Monaghan had ever had?
We've gone 10%. No one comes close. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he's an incredible footballer. Like, we were talking about Paul Finlay or Tommy Freeman or even Vinnie Corey himself or Colin Walsh, but this guy is just class. Just oozing class throughout his veins. He's an incredible footballer. Hopefully that's not his last game, but like, unfortunately, I'd say it is, John, and we had to cherish what we've seen of McManus this year, even though he made the cameo appearances off the subs bench. But in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, when the chips were down, he proved it. He proved his class. Like in the semi-final against Dublin, the quarter-final when he kicked that equalising score against Armagh, he stepped up at the big moments, and that's what big players do. That's what legends do, and that's what Conor McManus is to Monaghan G.
I suppose, like, is this maybe where we're at, I suppose, with the likes of your Twitters, your Facebooks, Instagrams? Like, I know obviously people, I think it was Thomas tweeted and a few others kind of tweet, like, if this is the last we see of Conor, if this is the last, I know he's seen his mum and dad, he went down the ton at Lough Ferry last rat, but like, is that maybe I'll put this one to you, Matthew, like, is that maybe where we're at as a big society? We maybe retire people, or we, maybe Thomas wanted to get a few headlines or the shares or the likes, whatever, is that maybe where we're at, maybe as a nation?
Possibly so. Like, it's an interesting viewpoint, actually. Like, it's amazing what you can make headlines out of anything. In all seriousness, it's like Sean Cavanagh's comments yesterday about RT. That's a prime example, really. But like, geez, you make headlines out of anything. Maybe Neil Block was doing that, but other GA accounts were doing it as well. Maybe it's his last appearance for Monaghan. But you can't escape at the same time. I know it's headlines and all that, but you can't escape the influence he's had on Monaghan G and the age. 36 years of age. It's usually just he calls it quits, and you have to pay tribute to an agent like he's. But maybe, like, you make a very good point, John. Maybe it's probably a wrong time to do that. Maybe it's time to save the tributes up to the winter months when McManus eventually announces his retirement, rather than now. He might go again next. We'll have to see. But yeah, maybe they are making headlines, but at the same time, isn't it great that we're making headlines for that man in general? Because he's a legend to Monaghan G, he's a legend to the G in general. And yeah, I'm all for him. I do see your point, John, but in fairness, I'm all for creating headlines about McManus, because I frankly think he's an incredible footballer.
Mr. Prendergast, what are we thinking? I suppose, like, we did see it, and I suppose with his family and this, that, and the other, and walk down. And we've seen case of this, like the likes of Andy Moore, and continuing one more year, all these kind of players doing maybe, I wonder, it could be damage to reputation in a lot of cases. But McManus, if he does get the body right, what's to say another 15-minute man next year, Mr. Prendergast?
Yeah, like, it's up to him, really, isn't it? Because I think Vinnie Corey was saying after the game that McManus still has plenty left to go in the tank, and I think Vinnie Corey was almost nearly saying that, sort of complimenting McManus to almost try and just keep McManus sort of about and everything else. And I suppose for McManus, it's just a big one, because I think if he does commit for next year, is he going to start every game? Is he going to be a regular? Probably not. Like, you've seen even at times this year, like, obviously didn't start in the quarterfinal, came off the bench, made an impact. I know he obviously starts in this game, but like, does he have the legs to be going full 70 minutes? And then obviously when you're in the league where it's very intense, you have a game every week or a game every other week, and same when it gets to the championship, with the way the championship is structured now, like, is he going to have game time to be in, is he going to get the game time that I suppose he would want? So I suppose that's the thing. Like, will he be happy being an impact sub, a man to come off the bench in the final 15 to 20 minutes? It's obviously a huge commitment into county football, and does he want to go back for another year if he knows he's not going to be a regular starter at his age? Because look, I'm sure Vinnie Corey, he wants to give the younger lads time and blend through younger lads and everything else as well. So it's a tough one, really. Yeah, probably a lot of people may be speaking like McManus is already retired, but I suppose, like, you do look at it at the same time, though. He's 36 years of age, All-Ireland semi-final, Monaghan staying in Division 1. Like, you know, like I don't like not that Monaghan won't get back here next year. I think they're more than capable of getting to a quarter final. You know, they're not a million miles away from getting back here again, in my opinion. But the question would be, like, you know, players like to retire at the top. They want to retire on their own terms. You know, Bernard Brogan always speaks of that, and I think it's you know, timing wise, it's probably not a bad time to retire, rather than, you know, like let's say hypothetically Monaghan have an off year next year, get relegated, get knocked out in, you know, preliminary round game or whatever, like, you know, so it's kind of timing and everything, but at the same time, he's more than earned his right to stick around, and to be fair, I think he's more than capable of still producing a few more performances.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. No, it's just something I noticed. You know, obviously, you'd be looking online and seeing the comments and tweets and bits and pieces after the game. But yeah, I just think we can be, maybe us as a nation, I think we're very quick to presume things, but we will wait to see. No doubt Conor McManus is, I think this picture, I think he went to some pub in Dublin there at the minute, so he is having the pint El Dino's just for the guest. Absolutely, yeah. Did he put that up on his Instagram, was it? Yeah, I think it was Rory Began. McManus is still about, he said. McManus is still about, so who knows? Yeah,
he's happy days. I wonder, probably in Devitt's, I'd say. Devitt's is obviously a good GA pub, or maybe he's in Ryan's or something like that. Go in and hopefully the lads sort the lads out with a few free points, you know. Yeah. In fact, I have to say, like, Dublin, like, it's an outrageous place to just go on a big rollover. Like, you have so many options. It's unreal. You do, but like, I don't know, for me, I'm kind of fed up with it now. Like, it's the same place all the time. You go into the same locals, the same type of characters and everything else. It's great crack, it's a great laugh, but Jesus, no, like, you'd especially everywhere is always mental as well, especially after the game Saturday. Every place you go into is just jammed. You know, it's like, might as well just go home. There's no point. You know, there's no point going in somewhere and you've got, you know, men fucking breathing on you and everything else. Like, no chance of that, you know. 100%. I can hear what you're saying loud and clear. Right, we will move on to the Tailteann Cup final in Croke Park on Saturday. It was Meath 2-13, down 14 points. Mr. Hurley, I think we both got this prediction wrong. Not sure if did you say Meath during the week, but Meath are Tailteann Cup champions. Who got it right? Aaron, who said what? No, I thought you were saying that, did I predict Meath as well? I was saying no, I went for
I think I said down.
Yeah,
I said down too, Mr. Hurley, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I said down as well. And to
Roll go down, Mr. Hurley. What are we thinking?
Like, yeah, I think we all got that. Yeah, horribly wrong. But in all seriousness, like, I've slagged off Meath throughout the year and things like that. But at the end of it, I will say this: I'm actually happy for Conor McManus. I'm delighted for him. Fearless, like, he's an excellent football man, and as Kevin McGorty actually said in this podcast, he's a smart boy. Meath should stick with him. Look at the fruits of it. They've won the Tailteann Cup. Now got confidence next year in Division 2. And credit to them, like Jack Flynn, Jack O'Connor, outstanding performances. They now have a young breed of players coming through the ranks now, and they have confidence on their backs going through this. So, yeah, fair play to Meath, fair play to Conor McManus. Sean Boyle and Conor McManus, that picture was just class, wasn't it?
Yeah, loved it, yeah. It
was brilliant. Two legends of Meath, Jay, and they absolutely deserve all the praise they've gotten. Even though I was thinking, actually, after the Tailteann Cup final ended, I actually have more respect for Meath this year than Kildare. And Aaron would love that, to be honest with you, in general, because of the two managers in particular. Because Conor McManus, I will say about him, he hasn't complained once this year. He said once he got into the Tailteann Cup, look, it's where we deserve to be. It's a chance to rebuild. Meath football is at that stage, unfortunately, and Meath fans weren't ready to accept that. But they've won the Tailteann Cup now. Let's see what happens next year. I think they'll get a lot of confidence next year. They could even go on a run in the All-Ireland, I think. When you look at the young players coming through there, Conor McManus at the wheel, like even if Jordan Morris and Matthew Costello didn't have their best games. Shane Walsh didn't play in the Tailteann Cup, and he's an outstanding footballer. So Meath have very, very good footballers coming through the ranks, and they've a very good future going into next season. As for the game itself, it was just a weird one in the first half particularly, and I took stats in the first half. Both sides had under 40% shot accuracy in the first half. That just tells you all need to know. The shooting, I thought, was very, very poor in that first half alone. The goal was just weird. I never would have seen that in Croke Park in a million years. And actually, some Meath journalists are trying to give it to Ronan Jones, but it clearly touched Pat Avery's leg. But anyway, Yeah, it was a weird enough game in the first half in particular. But when a side needed to turn it on in the second half, Meath did. They were more aggressive. They wanted it more. They shot better in the second half in general, and they got over the line in the end. And fair play to Meath for that. But for Dowd, I still think, I know they had a poor performance, but I still think they've had a very good year. When you think about last year, they were absolutely horrendous. They were in rag order really throughout the year. But Conor Laverty, he's steadied the ship now. They beat Donegal this year in the Ulster Championship. There was high expectations for the Down team. They had a very good win in the Tailteann Cup quarter-final. Derry named the county who they were involved in that. But anyway, they stuck 8 goals past the semi-final in Croke Park, which is very, very good for them. And yeah, in fairness, look, they didn't turn up in the final, but look, they'll learn for next year. They'll learn. The big thing is to get up to Division 2 next season. They'll realistically think of that as a target, even though Division 3 is going to be very tough next year for them. You have Westmeath and Clare there as well, who are decent size there to challenge them. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge year for both sides next year. But I think the confidence that this will give is going to be valuable next season. And most like they could even make a run at the likes of Kildare. I think Dublin are way off Meath at this particular moment of time, but it's a good stepping stone for Meath in general to think ahead to next season.
Dublin are way off Meath, Aaron Prendergast. Do you agree with that?
No. I think maybe Matthew meant the other way around there.
That's the controversial take of the week. That's going to be the headline.
But yeah, like all jokes aside, yeah, I think Meath are probably still a bit off, winning Leinster titles or anything of that nature. But look, it was nice to see them lift a major trophy in Croke Park. In fairness,
causing ruptures in Hill 16, I believe.
They were, yeah. There was also I was in the upper Cusack, so there was a big section of Meath fans. Obviously, you're looking directly at the hill, so you can see all the fans, and there was a big section of Meath fans definitely at the back of the hill, and you could see the Gardaí going up and 1 or 2 people coming down. And I was chatting to one of the lads who was in the hill after, and he was saying, I think one of them let off a flare and threw. Lads are getting in with bottles and stuff. I don't know, but sure, look, it's, to be fair, you get them in every fan base. You get them in, you know what I mean? It's not just Meath or anything like that. Like, I've been plenty of times I've been on the hill and you see Dublin lads fighting with each other or all sorts of chaos and messing. Like, it's just it's probably just a reflection of today's society, really. Everyone just
soccer culture creeping in, as Mr. Hurley said last week.
Yeah, like even you could hear them. When it happens a lot in soccer. I actually don't know what they say, to be honest, but the goalkeeper's taking a kick out, and obviously you hear the fans sort of like chanting, or there's like a particular chant that they all chant as he's taking the kick out. The Meath fans were doing that when the down kick goalkeeper was kicking it out. Now, not all Meath fans, I'd have to say. It was just this section of fans at the back of the hill. But look, it is what it is. Majority of them probably just 16, 17 kids, coming up to Dublin for a few drinks and enjoying themselves and everything else. And sure, look, no one was majorly hurt, and to be fair, it's good occasion, and I suppose we've all been there, maybe, kind of.
Yeah. Absolutely. And on Meath go back into All-Ireland next year, and then we'll be competing in the Tailteann Cup next year once again, but they were not far away on Saturday. And then we'll move on to yesterday's action in Croke Park. It was Kerry 117, Derry 115. Aaron Prendergast, we thought this game was going to stink the place out. First 5-10 minutes, outrageous, great game of football. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, game of the weekend. Who would have thought that? I think everyone almost looked at this game as probably a game that was going to be the most boring. It was going to be the slowest. Derry were going to get every man behind the ball. They were going to keep the ball for large parts and just try and frustrate the living daylights out of Kerry, and I suppose try and beat Kerry in maybe a similar way to how Donegal beat the Dubs in 2014. But that wasn't the case. Like, Derry went for Kerry's throat straight away, and it rattled Kerry. I don't think Kerry had. I think Kerry had probably prepared for Derry in the same way that we all thought how Derry were going to play. But Derry just went for it. And fair play to Kieran Mina, fair play to, the Derry backroom team for telling the lads to actually just go at Kerry. And, you could see Kerry in the opening 10 minutes didn't know how to handle it, because there was 2, 3, 4 goal chances in the opening 10 minutes. And obviously they get themselves the goal from McKinless. They concede a goal a couple of minutes after, but it was brilliant stuff. And Derry's shot accuracy in the first half was sensational. I mean, McGuigan was popping them over. Pádraig McGrogan was popped one over before he got injured. Brendan Rodgers was playing absolutely sensational stuff. McFowle as well. So it was it was brilliant stuff from Derry in the first half, and they really brought the game to Kerry, and it took a while for Kerry really to get going, and like especially towards the end of that game as well, like it was there, like that chance for Garrett McKinless with a couple of 6 minutes to go, 1v1 with Shane Ryan. If he pops that in the back of the net, Kerry or Derry go 5 points up, and that's probably game over. But obviously Shane Ryan makes the save, and the rest is history. So it was a cracking game, and Clifford obviously doing the business again.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really did. I suppose, as I was saying on Matthew's podcast last week, we thought it was going to be such a boring game, but Derry just thought different. They kind of did it go man to man? I'm not sure. Did they go man to man, Matthew?
I don't think they necessarily did. In fairness, like they still.
But they did have a cut at it, though.
They did. In fairness, they did. They were right off the throw and actually with the Garrett McKinless goal, but they were very open for the Kerry goal. Like Gavin White tapping home after a long run. And boy, God, like it opened up until then. But as I already mentioned there, Derry's shot accuracy was absolutely superb in the first half. Their ball winning retention was superb as well, and they definitely took the game to Kerry. And Kerry knew they were in the game. But what I will say about Derry, their second half conversion rate and the opportunities they had, I think they'd be absolutely good coming out of this game. There was a few opportunities. I think Lachlan Murray had a chance. He caught a mark. He could have claimed the mark, but instead he turned around and kept going. There was an opportunity there to knock the ball over the bar, keep it at a 3-4 game. But Derry didn't do that, unfortunately. And Kerry, once they were always within arm's length, they'll catch it eventually. And Derry were 2 points up, and then Stephen O'Brien wins. Let's just say it was a lucky free. It was a soft free at the softest variety. Indeed, they win that free though. They get it over. But then the next kick out, Kerry win it. And the rest is history, as Aaron said after Shane Ryan, but about Dannington's as well. But Derry will be absolutely kicking themselves because they should have put Kerry away maybe earlier in the game. They didn't do so. Kerry punished them, in fairness to them. They got over the line in the end. But what I will say, I think, and even Tommaso Shane mentioned in the Sunday game afterwards in the highlight show, the better team probably lost. I think Derry were probably the better team all over the field. I just think in the latter stages, I think Derry just didn't have it, unfortunately. They ruled a missed opportunity there, but Kerry, they march on. It's a brilliant record. It's a brilliant record, actually, Jack Warner. I was looking at social media today. He's been in 7 All-Ireland semi-finals and he's won every single one. That's it. I know, like, that's an incredible record, from a brilliant manager from Kerry football. But what I will say before, I don't know what you think about this, lad, but I think Kerry's dark arts is alive and well after this game. I think there was a lot of, sledging and things like that. There was a few instances with Shane McGuigan. I think the bit with Shane Ryan, I don't think it was a red card, but I think it was a free out. Simply was a free out. Like, there was no need. Like, a few Kerry fans actually said that Shane Ryan was dealing with 50-50 ball. That might have been the case, but there was no need for him to heap into McGuigan's face. Like, that's just, I think that was sneaky, in my opinion, from Shane Ryan. There was a few sneaky things from Kerry in the first half as well. I think Jason Foley with the eye contact lens was another one. And yeah, there was a few bits that Kerry did off the ball as well. I think Kerry, they perfected it well, but that's what every team has. And Seamus Brady said at the weekend as well, look, it's okay to have dark arts. Kerry, I think the media needs to realise Kerry have dark arts too. I know David Clifford, Sean, they're superb players, there's no doubt about that. But Kerry have dark arts like Dublin, like Limerick Hurlers, like Tyrone, like Donegal. They have the dark arts as well. Every great team has them. Kerry have to admit that as well. And it's not just about great footballers. Kerry have the dark arts too. That's what got them over the line yesterday. And ultimately, Derry lost it because of, poor decision making in a way. And even the decision making of having Owen Lynch go up the field in some instances, like, in fairness, I was discussing this with Aaron. Maybe they should have done this later on in the game when they were chasing a goal or chasing a point. But by then, Owen Lynch was beat. His energy was sapped out of him because he was using it. unwisely, really, at early stages of the game. And yeah, that's where Derry lost the game. That's where experience comes in. And Kerry are in the All-Ireland final, and it is the El Clasico final of Kerry against Dublin.
Absolutely, match. I suppose obviously David Clifford's impact, and I think was it CJ McGurty. I noticed his tweet yesterday, brother Kevin. He was just getting back to the basics, and Stephen O'Brien's point with the left foot, bad foot, kind of turned the game really, and kind of swung the momentum for Kerry, put them a point in head. O'Brien's influence, life in the old dog yet, Mr. Hurley.
He did, yeah, and he was questioned by some part of the media that he was too old, that he wasn't part of this Kerry team, and things like that were said in the media. But I think he shut up a lot of doubters yesterday for his performance. I think he did very well in fairness. He won that free, and that was a crucial part of the game, because by that point, Kerry didn't score in 17 minutes. And he got that free to settle to Kerry down and to get them back into the game in the last 10 minutes. And that's what leaders do. Like, he did this against Tyrone in 2019 as well. A few Kerry fans were pointing that out on social media. And he's done it again against an Ulster team. And he's definitely an expert at doing it, getting Kerry out under the ground and getting them back into the game. And in fairness to O'Brien, he did that. And Kerry got over the line because of it. But credit has to go to Sean O'Shea as well. Like we were saying off air, that he doesn't perform that well really in one half of football, but in the half of football he turns it on. In the second half he was superb. 4 points, I think 100% shot accuracy as well. But there were some stages in the game actually where you were thinking Kerry have lost this. I think Micheál Burns took a shot, went wide to Austin, hit the post, and you were thinking, do Derry have this? Like, are Kerry rattled in this game? But then the experience came in. They get the free end, they pop it over, they're a point behind, and then they have the temperament to get the next 4 scores after that. And that's ultimately the winning of the game. And ultimately, like we were talking, John, about Kerry's bench earlier on in the week, and that could make a big difference. O'Brien made a difference coming off the bench. Tony Brosnan added a bit of speed into the game. And Derry's bench didn't add much. And that's what we thought during the week. Kerry had probably a better bench than Derry. And so improved on the end. Kerry are rightfully so, judging by that, probably in the All-Ireland final. Were they the better team on the day overall? Probably not. But they just had that will to win in the last 10 minutes. And that's what got them over the line in the end, and to get them to another All-Ireland final.
I suppose I can notice, I think, the last 10 or 15 minutes, and I still think there is, maybe I can ask both of you this question, I still think there is that bit of difference in class. Say the last 10 or 15 minutes of this game, you've seen Monaghan on Saturday, you've seen Derry yesterday, just the tanks were a bit empty, maybe a lack of quality to a degree, whereas Dublin had your Costello's, your Dean Rock, Kerry obviously had David Clifford, the likes of Stephen O'Brien, Paddy Clifford, so I still think there is that good, like it is close, don't get me wrong, but there is still, and evidently as the results did show out, that bit of a difference in class when it comes to Dublin Kerry, and I still think there's Dublin and Kerry, and then the rest are just still tracking slightly behind Mr. Prendergast.
Yeah, like, and it's decision making as well, like it's decision making in those big moments, like, and I think that's probably what separates the great teams and the good teams, you know, like, and those final couple of minutes, like as Matthew was saying there, like Lakeland Murray has that chance to call a mark, doesn't do so, decides to keep going. Obviously, he's a young player, like he's only come up from the under-20s in the last couple of years, so he's probably relatively somewhat inexperienced. But again, it's those kind of moments that probably separate the likes of Kerry and Derry and Dublin and Monaghan and everything else. Like, as much as there's a huge amount of quality of your Costellos and your Cliffords and everything else, like it's just that know-how. Dublin have been there, they've been able to get through these games, and Kerry the same. And to be fair to Kerry, like there was moments towards the end of the game where it looked like they were panicking. It was looking like they were going to lose the run of themselves, and Derry were going to take it over. But in fairness, like once Stephen O'Brien wins that free, like that was the turning point. The Kerry fans got on their feet after that. They won a huge amount of turnovers. Derry just couldn't win any ball after that for a couple of minutes, and it just got a bit hectic. And yeah, like that's probably what separates both teams really, is that, you know, Kerry have what it takes in these moments to pull through. They have the players there, they've been there,
and so did Dublin
able to do it, and Dublin as well, you know. And that's what's going to make the final so fascinating in a couple of weeks, is because, you know, you've got so many experienced players, so many brilliant players, and, you know, it's going to be hugely exciting. And yeah, looking forward to it. Like, but that was just probably the difference, really. Like, it was, you know, and look, Derry, to be fair, their age profile is quite young. A lot of younger players coming through. Like, they're definitely not going anywhere. They're definitely not going anywhere. And I think a performance like this shows that Derry, I think they do have what it takes to win an All-Ireland in the next couple of years after watching that performance.
Derry, you think Derry have to win in themselves?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Like, I think you know, they on another day they could have beat this Kerry side. Just a couple of moments that let themselves down, a couple of misses, like that McKinless chance as well, which was saved. I thought
McFall was excellent. Yeah,
McFall was very good as well. Very, very good. He had a very, very good performance in fairness. And you know, like I was saying to Seamus Brady earlier, like there was that chance for McKinless. Could he have popped it over the bar? I suppose it was a chance to maybe kill the game and go for the goal, but it's just those moments. And look, Kerry get them chances, they put them away. Derry get them chances and they don't. And Kerry have been here numerous times, even though they're a young group themselves. The majority of those players have been here since 2019 when they turned Tyrone over in that semi-final. So, you know, like they've been here, they've been through the wars. Whereas this Derry side, although they've done it in Ulster, they probably haven't done it against, you know, top tier sides that are competing for All Irelands. But look, it will stand to them. It will stand to them going into next year. The only way you gain experience is by going through it. And for Derry, they'll definitely learn. And you know, I'd say, like, on the basis of this year, if you were to do a power rankings or something, you'd say Derry are third best team in the country, I think.
Yeah, I tend to, especially after winning Ulster, being back to back. Yeah, I cannot disagree with that. Bang on, nail on the head, Mr. Hurley. Suppose your kind of thoughts on that? With the kind of gap, definitely is closing. But as Aaron rightly just said, they have the quality on the bench and on the field to close them games out.
They do, and it probably does separate the great teams in Dublin and Kerry. The rest, and it has been throughout the history of the game, really. When you look at the Ireland history, like, I think since 2011, only 2 years, there has been a winner other than Dublin and Kerry. That was Donegal in 2012, and Tyrone in 2021. They are the aristocrats of Gaelic football to do them, and as good as the radiant. Yeah, they're incredible football teams, and I agree with Aaron to an extent, saying Derry are the third best team in the country. Maybe it'll shut up Johnny Ward from off the ball in general, that they're not a great team, whatever, but like Derry are. They're a well-oiled team, in fairness to them. I just think they lack a few subs close-out games. That's what Dublin and Kerry do have. But what it is, the Miners won the All-Ireland this year. They were absolutely superb. They have Charlie Diamond, I think, coming through underage as well. I think I've heard about him. He's a very good player. There's another midfielder, I forget his name now. There was a midfielder in the under-20s, a minor. He was absolutely huge. I forget his name now. I know the build of him. I think he's 6'5" or something like that, and he's coming through the ranks. I forget his name. But he's an incredible footballer as well. And Derry do have footballers coming through the ranks. That's the main thing. And to be honest, Kieran Meath definitely cut his corn. I think he's done an excellent job this season since all the monarchy that happened at the start of the season. And he's steadied the ship, in fairness to him. And I love him to stay on an extra season, in fairness to him. So, yeah, I think Derry are probably the third best team in the country. I'd agree with Aaron on that. Dublin and Kerry, they are probably the top two in the country, let's be honest. Galway seemed to have closed the gap last year, but they just didn't have it in the final stages against Mayo and Armagh. Ultimately, that's why they're not there. Armagh just far to deceive. Mayo, I think Mayo are probably the closest to them, but you see that against Dublin, they just fell flat in their face in the second half of that game. But yeah, there is probably going to be better teams to come in the next few years, but also now I think Dublin and Kerry are probably the two best teams in the country at the moment. And ultimately, you'd want to, for the next few years anyway, from a Cork point of view, maybe from a Tyrone point of view, you'd want Dublin to win the All-Ireland, but the rest of the country would want Kerry to win the All-Ireland. That's the way things go, unfortunately. But yeah, they're the best in the country by a pretty considerable margin. But I think Derry are taking the right strides to close that gap. They just need a few more subs to get on the right track.
I suppose an kind of interesting topic, and I know obviously it's water under the bridge at this stage, Aaron, but I suppose, you know, Rory Gallagher for the last few games, I don't know, like I'm still very much off the mindset of Rory was nearly still about. He might have been worth a point or two to that Derry cause. Yes, it's just I know Kieran has done a sterling job since Rory had to leave, but I just feel, I know obviously, like, I know everything's been sorted out off the field with Rory, but I just think Rory could have had such an influence in yesterday. But look, it's all hearsay.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, and I suppose if you're looking at football, and if you're keeping things to the football, obviously Gallagher done a phenomenal job with Derry, and obviously getting them to where they were, like getting them to win an Ulster Championship, and obviously getting them to the final as well. And to be fair to Kieran Meena, he's steadied the ship brilliantly. He's just kept it going. And yeah, look, it was interesting to see Derry play that way. Is that yesterday? Is that more the Kieran Meena style? Is that him putting his own blueprint on the Derry side? The fact that they were far more attacking yesterday against Kerry as opposed to what we've seen with Derry in the last couple of years. Because even under Kieran Meena, like I have seen Derry, they have let the shackles off a little bit more, in my opinion, than what it was like under Gallagher. Like against Donegal, I think they kicked 3 goals that day. They were very, very attacking. They were very free flowing. Obviously against Cork, like I suppose it was back to the same old Derry from what we've seen. But it's going to be interesting. And to be fair to Kieran Meena, like I know a lot of people were probably saying like Malachy O'Rourke, probably a big front runner, Derry man, and everything else to come in and maybe take the job. But look, I think Kieran Meena is more than stayed on. But at the same time, it will be different next year because it's he was coming in as the man to steady the ship and coming in halfway through a season and just carrying things on. Whereas next year he'll be the main man. He'll be the actual manager. So look, it'll be interesting to see what happens going into next year.
Thoughts on that, Mr. Early?
Yeah, I think he's definitely the right man for the season. I think he's probably the right man for the job. Yes, Malachy O'Rourke's an outstanding manager. He's done brilliant for Lane and brilliant for Monaghan in general. Just to point out, I don't think he's a Derry man himself. I think he's from Monaghan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in general, I think he would have been probably a good appointment in general for Derry previous season. But I think Kieran Meena deserves the shot of being appointed manager. But you see with Donegal, Aidan O'Rourke, after doing a stellar job, didn't take up the opportunity. That you'll see what Kieran Meena, his decision is in the next few weeks or so. But on the Rory Gallagher thing, yes, from a football point of view, we probably would have been there, but for obvious reasons, look, it's Kieran Meena. He's the future of Derry football now, and he should be in general. But yeah, I think he deserves another shot at next season. He's galvanised the Derry team. He's done well, and yeah, I think the Derry players are really taking to him. They really perform for him. They performed attacking football, and to be honest, I think the reason they went defensive against Cork and attacking against Kerry, maybe it was the oppositions. They just knew against Cork, if you just us, they could just frustrate the life out of them. Like it just Cork being on the receiving end of that, and we see that in previous seasons or so. And for Kerry, the thing is just to attack them, to run at their defence, and we've said that year in year out. And in fairness to Derry, they're a shrewd bunch. I think they're a shrewd bunch. Whoever's in charge of them, the players know it themselves. If the opposition, if the opposition are kind of like a team that aren't very attacking, like a Cork, they'll play defensively and they'll stifle the life out of that defensive style football. But if the team are more so an attacking trend side or as vulnerable at the back, they'll recognise it as well and they'll go for your throat. And they did that for Kerry in the first half as well. So I think in general, we think about it, actually, Derry are probably the shrewdest team in the country. Look at that. So I think there's a lot of scope to build on for Kieran Meena next season, and ultimately I think he deserves a second shot next season.
Yeah, hopefully he does, and Malachy O'Rourke can come to Cavan. I think that's the that's the plan. That's the plan. We will wait and see. Any other thoughts on the 2 semi-finals, lads? I suppose like both games happened. Obviously the Tottenham Cup final as well. So like general thoughts, like entertainment wise, from the 3 games, are happy enough?
Yeah, look, I mean, like both games went down to the wire. Both games were interesting going into the final couple of minutes, which is probably all we could have asked for. Like I think there was a general consensus that both games could possibly be over quite early. And look, when you know Dublin's quality, Kerry's quality, you would have looked at it and thought it's more than possible. It's more than possible for Dublin to put Monaghan away early, or for Kerry to come flying out of the gates, and that we've seen with Galway, Derry last year and how that game went. I think a lot of people were probably anticipating something similar with Kerry and Derry as well. So yeah, look, it was 2 games that went down to the wire. The Kerry-Derry game, I think, was one of the games of the weekend, possibly one of the games of the year. And it was hugely entertaining. And Meath and Down, probably first half quite poor enough, but look, second half got going, and just buzzing now for the final. And what a final that's going to be.
Yeah. Oh, tickets will be like hen's teeth. Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, I'd say the both semi-finals actually, we weren't necessarily whetting the appetite during the week looking at the semi-finals, but in fairness, they produced exciting moments, some brilliant drama. And in fairness to Derry in general, like I thought they played defensive football, like the game against Galway last season, but they went out, they attacked Kerry, they went for their throat in the first half, and fair play to them for that. And fair play to Monaghan too. Like, for a county of that population, to perform the way they did against the mighty Dubs, they did absolutely outstanding, in fairness to them. And the Tailteann Cup was disappointing in the first half in general, down to the shooting accuracy, really is. Probably the quality of both sides, but obviously down in Meath, they'll get that quality as the years go on, as they gain a bit of confidence. But yeah, the final, it's whetting the appetite, in fairness, but obviously, yeah, I'm pretty nervous sitting here as a Cork fan. I'm just hoping Dublin win the final in general. It's a big game. It's a big game between Dublin and Kerry. As Aaron previously, it's the El Clasico of Gaelic football in general, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. And a quick mention as well to the ladies' football quarterfinals. I think they were excellent this weekend. Excellent quality Armagh and Meath against Kerry as well. Brilliant performances from them four teams, and Dublin obviously beat Donegal, hammering them in the end on Sunday. So brilliant quarterfinals there. Looking forward to the semi-final action between Cork and Dublin, a competition that Cork are actually still in, reaching the semi-finals. So hopefully we'll beat Dublin and that, and hopefully we'll beat Kerry and that in general. But I'm changing codes and things like that. But yeah, ultimately, very good semi-final weekend, and looking forward to the final. As Aaron and as both of you had said, it's a game to whet the appetite. The El Clasico Gaelic football. Bring on the game in 2 weeks' time.
Well said, gents. Well said. No games this weekend, so no obviously tips or hints or anything to look forward to. But I suppose the way we can look at this one is the player of the weekend and the moment of the weekend, Mr. Hurley.
Player of the weekend, I'm gonna go David Clifford. You can't say anything against like 9 points.
It's nearly like we can just like every weekend we can just say player of the weekend, David Clifford. Like, it's just he's a freak.
He is, yeah, he's a freak of nature. Like, yeah, you won't want to eat him for breakfast. He's just an incredible footballer. You know, his skill level, his temperament. He's just an incredible footballer. Probably every kid looks up to him, and rightly so. Moment of the weekend, I'd say you'd probably have to give it to Meath, winning the Tailteann Cup, and Donald Keoghan especially going up and collecting the Tailteann Cup, and maybe Sean Boylan and Conor McManus that photo at the end. So that'll be my moment of the weekend anyway. And then ultimately, at the end of a season where Meath and myself have gone back and forth, I've ultimately respected Meath, and I'm delighted for them to win the Tailteann Cup in the end. So that'll be my moment of the weekend.
Beautiful stuff. Wise man, wise words, Mr. Prendergast. Let's have you.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, look at player of the week. Like, it probably is David Clifford. Like, if you were to go with someone else, like, it kind of nearly reminds me in La Liga when Messi and Ronaldo were player of the week every week. I think they ended up stopped doing that or something, or with their fantasy award or their fantasy team or something. You had to take Messi and Ronaldo out because they were too good. But yeah, like, I'd probably go. Yeah, you probably would go Clifford, but if you were to go with someone else, like Costello was phenomenal. Yeah. Brendan Rodgers was excellent for Derry. I think he was a real shout. And moment of the week, yeah, Meath winning a major honour, winning the trophy, seeing them get knocked out of ladies football as well was great. You know, maybe just bring them back down to earth for Kerry beat them.
He hates them.
But look, no, it's good to see them back win a major trophy, and look, hopefully they can compete well next year in the All-Ireland, and you know what, maybe even the Derry Kerry game in general was moment of the week. Like, just the opening 10 minutes of that game was so frantic. You know, with the goal chances and everything else, and just sort of seeing a great old-fashioned game of Gaelic football. Like, we probably didn't expect that coming into it. And just watching it all unfold was very exciting.
An old-fashioned game of football is just what we absolutely crave and want, Mr. Prendergast, because that's what football is. Football, and let's try stick to that. Get rid of these blankets, get rid of these defences, and let's kick the ball in to the full forward line, please, and thank you. 1 game to go, lads. Can we believe it, Mr. Prendergast?
I know. It's mad to think how quickly it all comes about. It only felt like a couple of weeks ago we were previewing the round 1 of the league, but yeah, here we go into the final. Obviously the hurling final this week as well, and then the football final, ladies final after that. Like, yeah, it's mad. It's mad to think that the inter-county season is slowly coming to an end. And yeah, look, I mean, hopefully from a Dublin perspective, we get over the line, because Jesus, yeah, it was painful enough that defeat to Kerry last year, to lose again in a final. But look, a good statistic: Dublin haven't lost in an All-Ireland final since 1994, and Kerry haven't won back-to-back All-Ireland since 2007, I believe. So there you go. Could it be a good omen? I think Dublin have won the last 9 All-Ireland finals we've been involved in. So
sweet Jesus,
if you're not counting replays, drawing games or whatever. Like,
yeah. Oh man, it's whetting the appetite. We're not far away from it, Mr. Hurley.
Another good omen, actually. The last year, a Northwest English side won the Champions League. Dublin won Ireland. Liverpool won the Champions. Man City won it this year. It's going to Dublin. I'm telling you, it is going to Dublin. Yeah. But seriousness, excellent final to look forward to in general. Like, you look at even the top scorers from play, that list is whetting the appetite, because Colin Baskell, Conor O'Callaghan and David Clifford were all in contention. Colin Baskell is currently on 30 points, Conor O'Callaghan on 20, and David Clifford on 28. They're all in the All-Ireland final. They'll all be fighting for that target in general. Clifford is 5 points. It has to get 5 points or more, and he's the top scorer overall in the All-Ireland Championship this season. So there's that to contend for too, not just the All-Ireland, the Sam Maguire in general. So some very good matchups to look forward to in 2 weeks' time, and ultimately the hurling to look forward to this week to be again Limerick and Kilkenny. But it's amazing that it's all over now, and the club season is only beginning. The Cork Club Championship is beginning in 2 weeks. So yeah, all to look forward to the next few weeks, despite the inter-county season coming to an end. Like, let's go clubbing.
Oh, let's go clubbing. Like the sound of that, Mr. Hurley. I like the sound of that. Lads, there we go. Nicely wrapped up, nicely said. Aaron Prendergast, where can people find your channel?
Yeah, they can find it on YouTube. Just search Gaelic Games Fan TV, and it should be the first one that pops up. And yeah, if you search Gaelic Fan TV on Instagram, on Twitter, on all social media, you'll be able to find me.
Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, you could search Gaelic Statsman on YouTube, and Gaelic Statsman on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and you'll find it all on there. And obviously I have a link tree as well, so my website's on that, my podcast is on that as well if you want to check that out. So that's where you can find me.
Beautiful stuff. Last question, lads. Will the GAA ever get the finger out and give you back your GAA rights? Mr. Hurley, such a ridiculous situation, on a side note.
You think they'd focus on different things, to be honest, John, rather than this petty stuff. But look, it is what it is. They're going after some accounts with images and things out, and the video clips and all that now, which is sad to see in all of the final season in general, whether you're a Kerry man or a Dublin man or whatever. It's just sad to see, really, and the GAA really should kind of behave themselves, really. And, you know, all we're doing is spreading the game, and Aaron will think the same thing. And yeah, as you said, John, take their finger out of the hole and stop with this nonsense and get on with the games that we all love and enjoy. And yeah, ultimately, that's all I want to speak about. I want to speak about the games rather than the organisation, as Aaron said a few weeks ago. And yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Perfect stuff, Mr. Hurley. Hopefully they can get you back on board and back on track. Matthew Hurley and Aaron Prendergast, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by yourgarage.com. Use code General Podcast, get 15% off on the website. 1 game to go. Get your Dublin Kerry jerseys. Get any other jersey you want on the website. Lads, thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
John.